Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today is my second video on immunology, specifically the immune system and non-specific defences. And today's video is for EDEXCEL GCSE specifications. So this is Biology Foundation and Higher and also Combined Sciences Foundation and Higher. So our first set of specification points for all of EDEXCEL GCSE specifications are to describe a pathogen as a disease-causing organism, including viruses, bacteria, fungi and protists. Describe how the physical barriers and chemical defence of the human body provide protection from pathogens, including physical barriers, including mucus, cilia and skin, and chemical defence, including lysozymes and hydrochloric acid. And then to explain the role of the specific immune system of the human body in defence against disease, including exposure to pathogen, the antigens trigger an immune response which causes the production of antibodies, the antigens also trigger production of memory lymphocytes, and the role of memory lymphocytes in the secondary response to antigen. So a pathogen is a disease-causing virus, bacteria, fungi or protist which can infect animals and plants. Pathogens make you feel ill by damaging cells or altering how they work. So there are a few types of pathogen as mentioned in that definition. So the first is bacteria. Now bacteria are small living prokaryotic cells. So prokaryotic, they don't have a nucleus, they don't have any membrane-bound organelles. And they are much smaller than human cells, so they are about 1 out of 100th size of body cells. They reproduce rapidly inside of the body and they cause illness by invading and destroying our body cells and also by releasing toxins which are poisons. Then we've got viruses. So these are tiny, these are even smaller than bacteria, so these are about 1 out of 100 size of a bacterium, and they cause illness by taking over the DNA of the cell, and they do this to make toxins and also cause cell damage, and the cell damage is caused by the new viruses being released from the cells. And then we've got fungi, so these are eukaryotic organisms and they can be single or multi-celled. And protists, so these are eukaryotic as well, and a lot of free living, but some of these are pathogens. So the human body has a non-specific defence system in place to try and protect us from pathogens. Now these are physical barriers and also chemical defences. So a physical barrier that we have is in fact our skin. And this protects our body from physical damage, dehydration, as well as infection. And the good thing about the skin is it's very thick, which means pathogens struggle to penetrate it. Of course, as well, if we are cut, we know that the skin forms a scab, and this is it immediately trying to heal, and it's actually a clot of platelets which form this scab, and this is preventing, again, pathogens entering through the site of injury. So another physical barrier is our nose. So inside of our nose there are hairs, and these act as a barrier to infection by trapping pathogens, microorganisms and other things like dust. So cells in the nose actually produce mucus as well, and it's this mucus that traps the pathogens and prevents them from entering the lungs. So when we blow our nose, we are removing this mucus and therefore removing the pathogens within the mucus. Another physical barrier is mucus and ciliated cells within the trachea and lungs, so within our breathing passages. So sticky mucus is here and it helps to trap pathogens again. So cilia, which are like little hair structures on ciliated cells, they are the lining of the trachea and of the lungs, and their role is moving in a wave-like motion, and this beats and moves the mucus which holds the trapped pathogens out of the lungs and out of the trachea up into the throat, and then they can be swallowed into the stomach where the stomach acid destroys them. And it is in fact goblet cells that produce this mucus. So then we have some chemical defences that the human body has to provide protection from pathogens. So the first is stomach acid. Now, stomach produces a type of acid called hydrochloric acid, which is a pH of 2. And this is what kills the majority of pathogens that enter via the mouth and travel down the esophagus, which is the food pipe. So this could be in food or drink, and also mucus from the trachea or lungs that's been pushed up to the throat and swallowed. As you can see here, we've got the acid trying to destroy the pathogens. And then we've got lysozyme enzyme. So this is a type of enzyme that is found in tears, and this helps to destroy bacteria by breaking down cell walls. And it's also found in saliva and mucus also. And here we've got our tears. So the basic role of our specific immune system is to defend against disease. So if a pathogen enters the body, the immune system's role is to ultimately destroy it. And the good thing about the immune system is that it has memory, so you don't always need medication and you don't always need to go to the doctors, and sometimes you don't even get symptoms. So white blood cells play a key part in our immune system, and they have 3 specific defense roles against pathogens. So the first role is engulfing them, so taking in the pathogen and destroying it, and this is by a process of phagocytosis. The second role is to produce antibodies, and the third is to produce antitoxins. So there are 2 main types of white blood cell. The first are phagocytes, and these are part of the non-specific immune system. So they bind to and they engulf pathogens. The second are lymphocytes, and these are specific, so they recognise specific antigens, which are proteins on the surface of pathogens, and they attempt to destroy them. So when the human body is exposed to pathogens, phagocytes play a key role in helping to destroy them. So the phagocyte moves towards the pathogen, and then it actually releases its cytoplasm in order to surround the pathogen and to take it inside of the cell. And it is enclosed within the cell in a vacuole, and then the pathogen is broken down by enzymes. So lymphocytes are important in producing antibodies. So every invading pathogen has a unique molecule on its surface, and it's a protein, and this is called an antigen. So it's this antigen that triggers the immune response. So the lymphocytes recognize the foreign antigen and they produce proteins, which are antibodies, and it's these antibodies that destroy pathogens. So first, the lymphocytes recognize the foreign antigen on the invading pathogen, and then the lymphocytes rapidly reproduce to make many specific antibodies that do a multiple array of things. So the first is causing cell lysis, so this is causing the pathogens to burst. The second is binding to pathogens and killing them, and the third is covering the pathogens and sticking them together in order to destroy them. So once the lymphocytes have produced antibodies and the antibodies have performed their role, phagocytes then ingest the pathogen. So the secondary response is an important component of the immune system. So if a person is affected again with the same pathogen that they were affected with before, there are cells called memory lymphocytes which can remember the specific antigens from the infection which was caused by a previous pathogen. And so this means that if you are infected again, there's a more rapid immune response. So this means that lymphocytes will rapidly produce the correct antibodies to kill it, and this is what's known as immunity. So with this rapid immune response, it's often likely that you won't even experience any symptoms or realise you are sick. So this is a key part of the immune system, otherwise we would be ill all the time. So another role of white blood cells is antitoxin production. So pathogens cause illness due to damage of cells, but also due to toxins that they release into our cells. So it's the role of lymphocytes to produce antitoxins, which neutralise the toxins produced by the pathogen. So as you can see here, we have our cell, and then there's our pathogen producing toxins. And then we've got our white blood cell, our lymphocyte, producing antitoxins in an effort to neutralise the toxin. So the antitoxins and the toxin combine to make a safe chemical, and antitoxins as well are specific to the particular toxin, just like antibodies are specific to a particular antigen. So now we're going to move on to some questions based on that information. So question 1, now this is from an AQA paper, however there's not a lot of questions for EDEXCEL, so we're just going to use this for practice. So microorganisms cause infections. The human body has many ways of defending itself against microorganisms. Describe 2 ways the body prevents the entry of microorganisms. So we discussed physical defences and also chemical defences. So you could talk about the stomach, you could producing acid to counteract and kill pathogens within food, for example. You could talk about lysozyme in tears as a chemical one. You could talk about our skin, how the skin reacts when we are cut, and other ones like that we've discussed. So the hairs in the nose, trachea and bronchi as well. So you can see a range of answers there. Because it is AQA, it doesn't include the lysozymes, but you would be able to put that in your answer as well. Question 2. Most cases of scarlet fever occur in children. Adults have usually developed immunity to a toxin that the Streptococcus bacteria produce during infection. Explain how an adult develops immunity to the toxin. So we know that, of course, first the individual, the adult, needs to be exposed to this toxin on the pathogen, or produced by the pathogen rather. So then when they're exposed to this is going to stimulate an immune response. And the result of this immune response is lymphocytes being produced, and they are going to produce antibodies, and they are going to try and kill the pathogen. So then the second time around, if the toxin is produced and the pathogen does infect the adult, the memory lymphocytes that have been produced will therefore be able to counteract the pathogen, destroy it quickly with a rapid immune response, and therefore the adult has immunity. And you can see our answer there. Question 3. White blood cells protect the body against pathogens such as bacteria and viruses. Pathogens make us feel ill. Give one reason why. So we know that there's 2 main reasons why pathogens make us feel ill, and the first one is due to cell damage. The pathogens damage the cell or change the role of them, and also they produce toxins. So you could have either one of these points for your answer. Question 4. White blood cells produce antibodies. This is one way white blood cells protect us against pathogens. Give 2 other ways that white blood cells protect us against pathogens. So in the question it states that white blood cells produce antibodies. So we know that's one way that white cells protect us, but we need to think of the other 2 ways. So we know that phagocytes, which are a type of white blood cell, actually engulf the pathogen, and we know that lymphocytes are the white blood cells that produce antibodies, but they also produce antitoxins, which counteract the toxins produced by pathogens. And so you can see our answer there. Question 5. People infected with a small number of TB bacteria often do not develop the disease. Explain as fully as you can how the body defends itself against the TB bacteria. So we know that there's 3 ways that the white blood cells defend against pathogens, and there's 3 marks for this question. So we could say how phagocytes, which are a type of white blood cell, engulf the pathogen, and then lymphocytes, which are another type of white blood cell, produce antibodies and also antitoxins. So antibodies destroy the pathogen, and antitoxins counteract or neutralize the toxin produced by the pathogen, or the bacteria in this case. So you can see our answer there. Question 6. In this question, you'll be assessed on using good English, organising information clearly, and using specialist terms where appropriate. White blood cells are part of the immune system. White blood cells help the body to defend itself against pathogens. Describe how pathogens cause infections and describe how the immune system defends the body against pathogens. And this question is worth 6 marks, and we need to make sure, as it says at the top, that we're writing in good English, so good sentences and good key terms. So there's 2 parts to this question. So it's asking us to describe how pathogens cause infection, and also how the immune system defends the body against pathogens. So we could start off by saying that pathogens are bacteria and viruses, for example. We could say that pathogens cause damage to cells, and they also produce toxins. We could also talk about how viruses get into the cells and replicate, and when they're released out of the cell, this causes damage. And then when we're describing how the immune system defends, we've obviously got to talk about white blood cells. So we can talk about phagocytes engulfing the pathogen, lymphocytes producing antibodies to destroy the pathogen, and antitoxins to counteract or neutralize the toxin as well. So you can see a range of points you could put down there on the right, and then also the level descriptions on the left. So thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. Also make sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss out on any videos. Please share with friends or people you know that you think this channel would help as well. At the end of the day, I just want to try and help out as many people as I can with their biology. If you head over to my Instagram as well, at Biology with Gracie, and give me a follow. I've also been on there asking questions about specific video ideas, so make sure to get involved there. And also head over to my website to access loads more exam questions and revision resources that will be helpful for you as well. So that's it for me today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!